Hello everyone and welcome to a new tutorial on blenderpedia.com. My name is Rob and today I'm going to explain something about the basics of scene compositing. We're not going to focus on how to model the objects in the scene, just the compositing, what you can see right there. I started with some reference images that I liked, one with a very yellowish orange mood and one with more fresh blue color. I like them both, but yeah, I choose more for this variation, but my final scene looks totally different, but that wouldn't matter, I think. So this is how the scene looks in Blender, and this giant moon object is a fake sunlight, and I'm going to explain why I did it like this. This is the after and before, or before after. It looks totally different, but it's not that it is a bad image. It's just how it looks like when you hit render and you didn't do any compositing. But yeah, in the compositor you can turn on some cool features that you can tweak it, that you have some nice bloom effect and some nice reflections and pump it up like this. So okay. We are focusing on the bloom effect on the mountains. I'm going to explain something about that. The sun reflection on the water. Of course, how I created the sunlight, which you can see right there, or in the left image. And how I created this mist layer that's bleeding behind the boat. I created that with the internal engine, combining these two with each other, what works pretty good. So that's it. So these points, create a solid scene. It's already there. Faking sunlight, sky blending, and water reflections. And that's pretty much it. So I can say, let's get started. Where is the scene? This is a scene in Blender. There it is. I can tell you something about what you see. Right here we have a water plane. I'm going to tell you something about that. These are mountains objects. I created that with the ant landscape. If you don't know how that works, go follow the mountain tutorial on my website. I'm explaining exactly how that works. This is way easier. I didn't even put a texture on. It's just a brown one. You don't see anything. And a plane in the background that I did with a what was it? Image as plane. So you're selecting your image and it's just projecting it with the right sizes, and I made that an emission, so very important. Then we have the sun thing, that's a second layer, and that's caused a reflection on the water, and that's pretty much it, I think. Yeah. The water, what I will do, just have a look, there's no anything there. I'm selecting these two and I want that one, and I'm dragging that to another layer. I'll say this one, and it looks like this. And if I hit render, we have to, we see this, and I'm going to explain how I created this effect. And maybe you know that already, but for the people who don't know, let's have a look. Go to the node editor, the material, and we select the plane. So it's not really complicated. There we go. It started making it glossy. So when we go here, you can see this. I didn't change the color. I just leave it that it's reflect this color, and it has a nice effect. You can see here it's totally different, but we only see this area, and that's pretty good. And I made that 0.10 anyway. And that looks good. Then we have a normal map, and what I combined on this one is just a random normal water reflection map. And you think, what is that? Well, you go to Google and you type in water normals and you get something like this. And when you combine that with a normal map node and you put that in the normal, you get a really nice effect. But before I show you some other stuff, because it's not only these settings, it's also translucent, but there's more. If I make this solid, you can see it's a little bit bumpy, this plane. So I started with a plane, I make that subdivision surface, make that 3 times, and what I did was I subdivided it a couple of times. Still looks like this, and it has around 289 vertices. Yeah, and the next thing I did was I go to the Blender render engine and I made a cloud looking texture with just tweaking these buttons and these, so get something like this. I call that waves. Go back to cycles and I make the displacement, put it down under the subsurf, and I select that one and made a 0.001. Very important. If you make this a higher value, the scene looks pretty different. I will show you. So we have these nice waves. So there we go. If I make this something like this, it looks like this, but what I mean is 1, 0, 2. All it looks more that you have more black areas and it doesn't look really good. So I make that 0.001 and it's more smooth, pretty good. And I like these nice black areas. It's pretty nice. So that's how I created the basics water. But this one, the normal map, is a very funny thing. When I remove it, it looks more like this, and with you have more, it's more variation, more resolution, and it's not really heavy for the computer. So that's pretty much it about that. And you can see this translucent. You think, why is that? Well, if I remove, nothing really won't change. Just a little bit, but I will explain what it does. For that, I'm going to add a monkey. Where's the monkey? There's the monkey. Making that red. Red. You can't miss it. Put it somewhere on the plane. So there we go. And we have red monkey. Make it smooth. So nice. If we render this, something like that, and now we put this up there and that one up here. Okay, cool. This is a very important one. I make this a little bit brown, like you can see here in the background, yellowish brown color. If I make this totally white, this is happening. If I make this normal, so this is what it is. Normal is this really hard shadow, and I want that this shadow is merging into the water. So by changing that color to something like this, you can see often something already is happening. I make this more brownish, so you have a nice brown color in it. I think that's more realistic, but it's just my opinion of it. So that's pretty much about the node tree from the material. Don't make this transparent because it's different than transparent. So just make it translucent and use add shader. When you may use mix shader, it won't work. So keep that in mind. Remove Suzanne. Thanks for your audition. And we select everything and bring that back to the layer number 1. Still something in. Yes, you also go back to your place. So this is the scene. Okay, great. I have to think. All right. Then we have this ball. Oh, that's maybe a good thing to show you in the. Then we go to this part. Okay, let me think. I created this plane, but I also wanted to have a nice reflection in the water. And then we have a problem. So if you have a sunlight like this, lamp sunlight, you can put it somewhere like here. So, and then you put it here, and then the sunlight is making a nice reflection in the water. What works perfect? Problem in this scene is that I'm using a plane right there. And then the sunlight is this plane is blocking the sunlight, and that's dramatically. So everything looks just dark, and there is no nice sunlight reflection on the rocks in the water or on the boat. It's really boring. So I removed that one, and in place of that, I created this sphere, and I make that an emission, and I put it in the second layer. So this sphere, and well, you were just gonna bring it back in the where it is. So we're moving it back. I should that in begin, and we activate it with that one. So we go to this layer and we hit render. Oh, I don't need you. Definitely not. render. And now we want a nice having reflection in the water. Perfect. But this looks like a really fake sunlight. So we want to render this scene, but we want to remove this sphere object in the scene. And we can do that. And I will show you how that works. So finally, I'm putting everything back. This goes to layer number 1. And this one is still in layer number 2. So very important, not in the first layer. So and now we go to the photo, well, the scene file. We go to render layers. You make another one. I think sky is number 2. Well, I call this sky, but I can make a sun. I don't know why I call that sky. So everything here is there, but the sphere is over there, and you make a new one. And yeah, you select only that layer. And in the scene, you deselect the second layer. And if you hit render, the scene will render without the UV sphere. So again, you have the scene and you make a sun layer. So in the scene, you deselect the second layer. In the sun scene, you only selecting that layer. So it's not rendering the first one. So that's pretty much it. And I think I discussed, everything in this scene. Well, the mountains will show you have this color. This is have an emission color. The backplate had also an emission of one value, value of 1. We have these rocks, and I texture paint these rocks. I made it with Ant Landscape, and well, I'm gonna go here. Wait a second, and yeah, looks something like this. If we go to the node editor, it looks like this material, because I enabled all the normal specular occlusion color. So there's a lot of stuff going on. There's even a displacement thing over there. But yeah, if you don't understand this, go watch the mountain tutorial, and I'll explain everything about that. So we have these rocks in the water, and the problem was that I wanted to have a nice reflection on these mountains or rocks in the water. Problem was there was no sunlight, only this sphere, and it was, yeah, didn't even have a nice reflection on the rocks. So I created this area lamp. I put it up there, something like this. I don't know why it's shining up there, but it is making a nice reflection on the rocks in this value, and that works pretty good. So I'm faking reflection, it's not real. And I also could do that with the boat, but I didn't do that. I was happy with the result. So that's the scene, how I created it, and when I hit render. And now we go to the node editor, to the compositing. This is how it looks like. It's a really simple node tree. It's not really complicated, but without, when you press Shift Control, you get something like this. So we have the rocks with a reflection of the area lamp, we have the boat, and we have the mountains. And I think I rendered this image without the sphere. And it's very important that we select these two and we hit render again. It takes a couple of seconds. It's a fast rendering scene. So I'm rendering this with the GPU. It's also very important. Oh, sometimes only rendering the second layer. I don't know why. And we should hit render again. I love that. Waiting for the render. Okay, come on. Come on, you can do that. Oh, it's doing it again. Okay, I don't know why this funny program is doing it. What are we gonna do that one more time? It's not really, I think it's a bug in Blender. Just have to do something. Selecting. And now it should, I think it's running out of memory. That's possible. But if this doesn't work, yeah, I will pause this. It says out of memory, so I will pause this video, and wait a second, I'm back and have a new render of this scene. So now we are back, and I rendered this with the CPU, which works great. My GPU card isn't that strong enough to render nature scenes, because I use too many textures and it's too complicated, I think. So that's why I pause it. So now we have the nice reflection in the water, because I did not enable the second layer, and then it wouldn't be there. It will not be there anyway. So I'm selecting. It's now only selecting this layer, and I'm going through every node and explaining what I did. So I start with a map value. You go to add, filter, or vector map value. There it is. And you create a mix node. A mix node is add color mix. And you put the image down there and the value here. So I'm now selecting this one. We have this result. And by tweaking these areas, when you make this lower, you're removing the mist in the foreground. But I like this value of 2 or something. Don't really have a value of it. This is very important. This is the power of the mist. If you make this 0.1, you have a lot of stuff, and I don't like that. Just gentle mist, but also not removing everything. So you can see the mountains already are merging or blending in with the background image, what looks pretty good. So, and now the big trick is I'm using glare nodes for making that sunlight effect. I'm making a ghost and a streak effect. And when we start with the glare with ghost is that it's making the middle of the scene, it's making it very bright, and for this case it works pretty good. It really looks like a sunlight, but it depends on every scene. So maybe it's that only a streaks work with another scene. So, well, I don't know. And when you put down the threshold, so when I move this to 7, it will be gone. But when I make this around this value or 0, just tweak that to a value that you like. Then we go to this one, the glare, and it's rendering, it's waiting. And yeah, this is doing very good stuff. Now the mountains are highlighted, so it has a nice looking color, like orange reddish color surrounded, and it looks like that they are there. It's not really fake, so that worked pretty good. I'm going to explain this later, because this is the mist effect, but we're not there yet. One of the most important things to finalize the scene is you can go wild, you can use a lot of other nodes, but this is really the basic. So mist, lights from the glare, and the color management, and you can make the scene looks really blue. Or I started with reference images. I had that orange one, and I had the orange yellow one and the bluish one. It's what kind of mood you like. But I like the orange. But if we want the blue one, first of all, you start by changing the color of the sunlight. But we didn't use that, so only an area lamp. So we make that area lamp a little bit yellowish. And you start moving around with these colors. Well, if we want to make this blue, you just go to these, and it should change to blue if we wait a second. Or this is more greenish. You just making this more white. And I'll depend also on the background image that you use. If that is an orange one, what's in this case we're using an orange sky, but yeah, you can change it over here, and it's still a little bit, you can't really get this blue because there are a lot of orange colors in the scene. But yeah, you can, this is a totally different mood than the orange one that I used for the scene. So it's not really easy to find the right mood and understand how the color balance is working, but just switch around with the buttons until you get the right mood. And if you really don't know, just watch some tutorials on the internet about color balances. really important. So then we have this. So what we did was we have a nice mountains, and that works pretty well. Also the reflection on the water is working pretty good. But there is this mist layer. So when I remove this one, so I'm now ignoring it, it should be gone. And well, I think it's a good thing for merging the water with the mountains. So oh, it's green, lovely. Come on. There it is. So to do that, we go to the scene and we go to this plus and full copy. And if you make a full copy, you get something else. I call this scene fog. I removed the mountains because, well, how can I say this? This is what I create extra. This is a mist layer. And I get to this one, I made that the volume. I think this by default it's 1. I made this 1.3 to make it more, more visible. And reflection 1.1, so it reflects better. Use a resolution of 90. I think it's by default around 50. So then I put this between the end of the water and the starting of the mountains. So something like this. And the rest in the scene are all sort of masked, that don't have any material. And that's perfect, because when I hit render, you can see something like this. So the boat is making a hole in it. So the good thing is that this mist layer is not covering the boat, what should look really fake. Now it's just there. And you should make this transparent, or else it's a gray thing with that cloudy thing over there. But yeah, if you do this in the fog one, you get this result, what is pretty good. I removed the mountains because they didn't have any function. I even could remove these, these sail things, but yeah, well, it's there. It's no problem at all. So, but don't change the camera angle, because this is totally exactly the same settings as the other scene, and that works pretty good. So we go back to scene, and we go to the node editor, and we create a render layer. So add input render layer and made this blur. So what we can do is output viewer. So you can see what's happening. So we start here, we have this, we make it blur, and we'll make it a little bit yellowish, just a little bit, so it's merging. And it depends, you can make this 20 or something between 10 and 30. I thought 30 works pretty good. I created an add node, so you can combine these transparent things together. No mix node, but add node. And then it should work, and make an image. Always waiting. I made this already medium. If I make this high, I have to wait 2 times longer. It's dramatically. So maybe this is a little bit too much in your face. You can make this 2. With this factor, you can change that. So by default, it's 1. I think this works better. But by default, it's 1, so it's way too much. Yeah, it's like this. It's totally not believable. This 0.2 works, and that's great. 0.2. And there's not still really a transition between. You can see there is still some space, but in fact, if you watch images, water can stop to from. Yeah, this is not really fake at all, because this could be for real. But yeah. And that's pretty much it. So again, we start with the mist one, so we get something like this. Then the mountains are still, really, it's a little bit ugly, but with these glare nodes, first this one, but this one with the streaks, it works pretty good. It's really amazing that, But yeah, you should make some mountains between the water and the sky, or else this wouldn't work. If you have an image with these mountains, it will look flat, and you don't have that depth in the scene. I think I forgot to explain how the streaks one works. I think it's pretty much the same. Threshold, yeah, it's by default it's 1. I make that 0.5, and I change the color modulation. I think I want to make this like this. I have to wait. But if you pump this up, yeah, it's less heavier. Well, not that in your face. You can even choose for the irritation. I think now it's getting less sunlight. No, I think this one. I don't know. I think this is. We have to wait. Yeah, just use less irritations. I think it was streaks. If I use around 5, it's got less. Yeah, well, it also works pretty good, so choose your own thing. But yeah, that's pretty much it. You can also see some lens distortion, well, no, lens defocus. I have to say that right. And selecting the camera, selecting this one, enable limits, so you can see this yellow thing, and I selected the boat. Using f-stop and 2.6. Most of the time I will work with 5.6, but that has some really weird effects in the scene, so 2.6 works pretty well. And I think we discussed almost everything. There was one more thing. If you want to animate this one, you want animation, water animation. So I created this empty. You go to add the empty plane axis, and this is the trick. You go to this one, you go to the displacement. Sometimes I just forget them. Make this object and select the empty, and it is pretty cool. When you move this, you can see, well, it's hard to see, but no, you can see there is movement on the, yeah, well, wherever you move it. So you make an animation by you selecting a frame, press I, lock rotation, so you move something like that, and press and make this 200 or something like that. Press I, lock rotation, and very important to do is go to the graph editor and make that vector. If you don't do it, it starts very slowly with waves, and then it gets really wavy, and then it starts slow. It's something like start slowly, then it gets fast, and slowly again. So make that vector. It's really important to do. Check, double check. I think I didn't forget anything. So yeah, well, no modeling work in this tutorial, only compositing. It was really the basics. It was not really, you know, on an expert level, but I hope you get some stuff with it and you liked it and you learned some little tricks that you can tweak your scene and create some cool stuff. So thanks for watching this tutorial, and I hope to see you in the next one. See you later.